bloody fantastic.
Hello everybody, my name is Good Boy and welcome to a video on the top 10 biggest winners and losers of Pack 7.21b. I'm going to be running through the heroes that did well and those that didn't do too well and the extreme changes in their win rates as a result. However, before we begin the video, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe, share it, notification bell, and of course check in the comments below for Arcana giveaways and other good stuff that helps you get better at Dota. So winner number 10 is Slark. Slark is a quote-unquote winner because he actually did okay out of it. Brace yourselves, most don't. but Slark did okay. So Slark saw his base armor increase by, and brace yourself for this, here we go, a whole 1. Now that whole 1 armor may not sound that much, but bear in mind that Slark's weakest phase is usually the laning phase. Additional low levels of armor in the laning phase helps a hero like Slark actually survive much better, take generally less damage, and therefore it fares much better. And so that gives him a rather nice 1.5% increase in win rate. Very, very good for a hero like that. So number 9 is Leshrac. Leshrac saw his agility gain increase from 1.7 to 2.3. Naturally, of course, improvements in armor and, of course, attack speed are always going to be welcome for a hero such as this. Leshrac doesn't particularly fare that well in the meta generally, or hasn't been faring that well in the meta that well, especially in the pro scene. And so this little buff there has helped bring the hero up by a couple of %. So that's pretty good, pretty good. In at number 8 is Weaver. I feel like Weaver did pretty well actually. Again, a positive increase in win rate as opposed to losing out. And this is where we saw the Germanite attack now deals 10, 20, 30, 40 bonus physical damage on the second hit. That's tremendous if you think about it. So that improves farm rate drastically, damage dealt drastically, and will generally help the hero secure more kills and more farms. So a great little buff there for the hero, seeing his improvement in win rate by 1.7%. So very, very, very good for Weaver. Sadly, hero not that great in the meta right now, but In number 7 is Sven. So Sven was the darling of 7.21. He's definitely not the darling of 7.21b. They really, really kicked him in. Although not as hard as it probably could have been. So Great Cleave has been reduced from 40 to 9% to 30, 50, 70, 90%. So that's only not as good in the early levels. Warcry bonus speed was reduced from 8 to 20% to 5 to 20%. And Warcry shield base capacity was reduced from 80 to 170 to 60 to 150. So Warcry, again, not as good in the laning phase, but levels out towards the end in terms of the bonus speed. But now the shield base capacity has, of course, been reduced. That is just a nerf, and there's no way around it. God's Strength cooldown has been increased from 80 to 100. That definitely hurts. So if you look at it, it's a lot of changes to the hero, which is he is a spectacular hero right now. But actually, if you think about what a lot of the changes are, it's just annoying in the laning phase or in the early levels of the hero. Most of what he does is about the same. So Lich also took a beating of nearly 2%. So his movement speed was reduced from 305 to 295. That really, really hurts. That is easily, particularly for if you're going to play him as a support especially, that really, really hurts because mobility and positioning for supports is very, very significant. So that is a very painful thing to do to him. And then Sinister Gaze duration was reduced from 1.6 to 2.5 to 1.3 to 2.5. So again, in the laning phase, not as good, but as the game progresses, it's about the same. The biggest pain by far, and probably most of the damage has come from the movement speed reduction. That is absolutely cancer. And, you know, easy way to bring the hero down. So Spectre is the last hero that has a positive win rate. Like I say, generally when they do the letter patches, it tends to be more nerfs than buffs for sure. So Spectre saw his base strength increase by 2, and his level 10 talent was increased from +4 all stats to +5. So unilaterally a buff, and to be honest, that level 10 talent is very pickable. So these are two very strong things that help him, particularly in, again, like Slark, Spectre's very weak in the laning phase, so that base strength increased by 2 goes to serve and improve his durability, and of course the all stats, +5 all stats is awesome. So generally, a nice little improvement there. And Spectre is now a very solid, nearly 54% win rate hero. So it's probably worth giving the hero a good spam in certain games. So at number 4, we see the first major fall from grace, and that's Night Stalker. Night Stalker, with the reworks in 7.21, did very well, and of course in the pro scene did very well, and of course had to be brought off the boil. So his strength gain was reduced from 3.6 to 3.2. Not as bad as one would fear, but again, the hero isn't as potent as some of the other ones coming up, which have been trashed. Night Stalker is also still meta viable. He was boasting nearly a 55% win rate, so while he has been brought down by over 2.5%, still actually a pretty good hero, and I think we'll still see him in the pro scene. So Io got a kicking, and quite a big kicking as well. 4.5% reduction in win rate is nothing you can be shrugged off. So Tether no longer makes you unslowable, definitely a pain when it comes to escape. Spirits no longer has a toggle cooldown. The min range was increased, but the Spirit's rotation interval was changed from 2.4 to 2.7. And Spirits no longer does a micro animation, was interrupted. So that's kind of, there. Overcharge damage reduction was reduced from 15 to 30 to 5 to 20%. That's a major nerf. And the relocate mana cost was massively increased from 100 to 175. And then they swapped around the level 15 talent, which Tether grants Scepter bonus. And they swapped that around, so now you get that level 20, which is pretty major. Those are the two biggest things. But they really kicked in what was a hero that got buffed beyond belief in the previous patch. So it does stand to reason, and IO has paid very dearly for it. So at number 2, and this is probably no surprise to anybody, Lifestealer. So Lifestealer has seen over 5% reduction in win rate. Part of it is actually due to the Midas changes. So everyone was going Midas Radiance on Lifestealer, and now Midas produces 10% less gold than it was before, which is, painful, particularly as hard farm is important. But Lifestealer also didn't get away without anything being hit. So his strength gain was reduced from 3.6 to 3.2. Feast was reduced from 1.75 to 4% to 1.5 to 3.75%. That's a massive nerf, and so those two combined, along with the Midas changes, really hurt Lifestealer and brought the hero off the boil. The hero is still technically meta viable. He was boasting a 57% win rate. Hero now is sitting pretty really at 52%. So yeah, he really got kicked in. But the biggest loser by far, and I think this will definitely help alleviate a lot of the boosting problems we're seeing, was actually Visage. So Visage saw an over 7% reduction in win rate. That is absolutely horrific. But if you looked at how he's being played, it makes sense. So the strength gain was reduced from 24 plus 3.0 to 22 plus 2.8. That's actually not that bad. It's the Summon Familiar's attack damage being reduced from 30, 45, 60 to 20, 40, 60. Now, the reason why that's significant, because it's the same when you level up to your max level, right? But the reason why that's significant is typically you get to level 6 with Visage, and then you end the game. Visage really goes off the boil as the game progresses. So if you go to late game with Visage, you've kind of lost a lot of the benefit of the hero. Visage is a hard-pushing hero. With the damage being reduced by a third at level 6, basically they can't deal anywhere near the same level of damage and push anywhere near as hard. That, and including obviously Visage is much easier to kill with the strength gain being reduced, makes the hero really go off the boil, and doing a hard push strategy with Visage now is, I don't want to say impossible, but much more difficult. And so because of how Visage is played, which is hard push strategy, and everyone's going booster galore with it, Visage is now still meta viable. 52% win rate is not to be sniffed at, but nowhere near as good as what he's been doing before. And again, boosters will have to go back to the drawing board in terms of what hero strategy they're going to be adopting. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching. As always, hit the like button, hit the subscribe, share the video, and of course, check in the description below for all my glorious giveaways. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.